Hey there guys, welcome back to the channel, or welcome if it's your first time. In today's video, I'm reviewing the 7Hz Aurora IEMs. These guys come with a quad driver configuration. We've got a 12mm dynamic, we've got a 6mm microplanar for the treble, and in charge of the mid-range, we've got two custom balanced armatures. Let's get it. What's cracking, audio fans? It's David here from Prime Audio Reviews. That's the box for the Aurora. Inside you get a carrying case. You get a pretty good selection of ear tips, including, much to my surprise, these beauties here. I had no idea they even existed. And the reason I'm so excited about these is because they are large. In fact, they are large enough for my alien ears, so I very much appreciate that. 7Hz, you are forever in my debt. Thank you so much. Now, let's look. Before we look at the IEMs, I want to show you the cable. This is a special cable, not only because it's super thick and chunky, but because it's a gold-plated single crystal copper cable. I mean, yes, it is rather chunky. I know quite a few people don't like these really thick cables. Personally, I love them. I think that's a really manly cable and I'm down with that. It handles well, it's beautiful, and it's modular, so you can easily swap out between the included 3.5mm and 4.4mm terminations. Awesome. So keep that in mind. It comes with an amazing cable. It's probably worth $100 at least on its own. But let's bring in the IEMs now. Boom, there they are. Now I might have to hold these because they're not going to face the camera. They're not playing nice. So check out these face plates. I don't know how well you can see them, but they've got this unique design, and they are legitimately unique because the shells come with unique titanium filaments in them, so every set has its own distinct style or pattern. Now it's hard to tell from the photos, but I'm pretty sure that mine is like one of the darkest of the sets that are out there, because they're almost black when you look at them, unless they hit the light in the exact position when they light up a bit, but they are very dark. They just, most of the time, they look almost black. And as for the shell body, it's 3D printed resin. It's translucent, so it's you can see through a little bit, but it's pretty dark and smoky. You can't see a lot in there. But yeah, they look and feel quite premium. And once again, I forgot to mention the price, so let's do that now. The price of the 7Hz Aurora is $399. And yeah, I know, quite expensive, but they are labeled as a flagship, 7Hz flagship. And it's kind of a weird segment. We don't really see a lot of IEMs around that $400 price point, but that's what we have today. So let's get on with it, and we'll talk about how these sound. So before I talk about the sound, I'll just say Aurora, it's relatively easy to drive, but it does benefit from some extra power. I think to take advantage of that, its high resolving nature, and to get that big dynamic driver moving, because it does have a large 12mm dynamic driver in there. Graph. Okay, let's talk about the bass, and those larger than average 12mm dynamic drivers delivers powerful rumble and punch without breaking a sweat. But it doesn't put an emphasis on the bass. In fact, the bass is fairly restrained or restricted in terms of quantity. It's not especially forward or enhanced, but it is a very high quality and a very controlled bass. There's a little bit more emphasis on the sub bass, which gives you that deep rumble when you need it. But the mid and the upper bass are still present, so it keeps the sound full and adds depth to the sound as well. Now, this makes these perfect for bass heavy genres like EDM and hip hop, but because of it's nice and agile, it's versatile enough to basically work well with all music genres, but it's definitely not a bass head IEM. Now the mid-range offers exceptional clarity and spacing, with those balanced armature drivers delivering crisp, fast transients, which results in clean, uncolored vocal and instrument notes. Now, that neutral mid-range tuning, it excels in both transparency and separation. Now, vocals are a particular strength of the Aurora. They have a nice, smooth yet articulate character. They're free of grain or harshness, but they have a nice natural texture. And there's a delightful balance in the mid-range, like it avoids sort of a artificial coloration with added warmth or thickness, yet at the same time it has enough body to convey a sense of soul, if you will. And then we have the treble, and I think the treble is one of the Aurora's standout features. It's well defined, it's precise, it's got a nice quick decay, there's an abundance of details and clarity there. Yet the treble notes have good body on them and good density. There's no brittleness, there's no metallic timbre, and the treble extension is fantastic as well. Those brighter highs might be fatiguing to like treble sensitive people or people who like a really smooth sound signature. But for me personally, I find the treble here really exciting and captivating. It adds lots of clarity to the sound, it adds airiness and a nice spacious feel. And I find the treble works especially well, or the overall sound in the Aurora works especially well with acoustic instruments and classical music, but at the same time, it does work across all music genres really well. And finally, for soundstage and technicalities, the Aurora has excellent technical performance. The stage is wide, and the stage is deep, and it's large in scale. The detail retrieval and the clarity are excellent thanks to the lifted treble. Instrument separation and layering are precise, which results in pinpoint imaging. So you get very good placement, you get very good gaming if you're into that. If you want to do gaming with expensive IEMs, they're great for that. We're going to do a couple of quick comparisons. The first one is going to be with the Moondrop Blessing 3. So the Blessing 3 here has a 2 dynamic driver and a 4 balanced armature configuration, so 6 drivers per side. It has a darker tone compared to the Aurora, and that's a result of both its sub-bass extension and an attenuated upper mid-range and attenuated treble. The Blessing 3's bass hits a bit harder, but it's got slightly more blunted or rounded bass notes, and its mid-range presentation is more forward, so vocals and mids are more forward with a thicker tone compared to the Aurora, which is obviously a little leaner. Now the Blessing 3, it's neither as bright or as detailed as the Aurora, but its mid-range is highly resolving, but it does mask some micro details. So the Blessing 3 is not great for micro details. Lastly, the Blessing 3 has a smaller soundstage and it's not as airy, but arguably it has a slightly more natural tone than the Aurora. But for what it's worth, I enjoy both of these IEMs. I think they're both fantastic, but I enjoy them both for different reasons. Rightio, next up we've got the Tangzhou Nersha. This is a bit more of an uncommon IEM, and it has a rather uncommon driver configuration as well. It's got 6 balanced armatures and 1 piezoelectric driver per side. But I chose this because it's the same price. It's $399, same price as the Aurora. So I appreciate the Nersha for its cozy and natural mid-range and high level of resolution, but I do miss the physicality of a dynamic or a planar bass response. So yeah, this one, the Aurora, does have that dynamic driver for the bass, and I fully appreciate that. So the most obvious difference between these two is in the sub-bass impact, but the Nersha actually has more body and fullness in the mid-bass and the upper bass region, and this fullness carries over into the mid-range, giving the Nersha a warmer tone. Now the treble on the Nersha isn't as forward, it's not as sparkly either, but it actually has a similar level of detail retrieval, partly due to that balanced armature bass, which is very tight. It also has a smaller soundstage compared to Aurora's, but it's a very organized soundstage with good imaging as well. Now, if it were up to me, if I were choosing, man, I love the Nersharp, but balanced armature bass just doesn't quite get there for me as a end game type IEM. I need that physical bass, even if it's not a large bass in quantity. I need to have that authoritative, just that confidence, that ability to move air, and balanced armatures on the whole tend to not do that, but I do appreciate the Nersharp. It is a beautiful sounding IEM, but I think I'm getting a bit off track here. Let's bring it back to the 7Hz Aurora. This is one that's probably not going to be as widely adopted or, purchased as a lot of their budget items, which is understandable. I know people don't want to blindly buy a $400 IEM without having the chance to listen to it first. However, I think I actually really enjoy this. The shells aren't the most comfortable. They are pretty. Other ones that I've seen online look more pretty than mine, in my opinion, but they are pretty. What you're getting here basically is excellent technical performance. So if you're into detail, instrument separation, and a larger soundstage, these are a really good choice. However, if you're looking for something with a really natural, warmer tone, there are other options out there. I know people would probably like comparisons with things like the Dusk, but I don't have that. So I can only compare these with sort of other things that I have in a similar price range. But anyway, having said that, I'm going to wrap it up there. Thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, PowerFM Audiophile style. If you're new here, consider hitting that subscribe button before you go. And until next time, I'll see you later.